I've been joined by the Associate Director of WACAM, Hanousu Kranting, and the Secretary of the Interministerial Task Force on Illegal Mining, Charles Bisu. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you. And I think that all the videos we've played have set the foundation for the conversation we're about to have. Let me start with you, Mr. Bisu. Okay. The positive reports we are getting from river bodies like the Ankobra, did those water bodies clear on their own, or you engaged in specific activities to result in what we are seeing now?
Okay, thank you. When the ban was placed on small-scale mining in the country, the IMCM was given a mandate, and the mandate was that we strengthen the agencies and ascertain where licenses were and all that, because most of the concessions we do not know where they are. In some cases, one license owns about 3 or 4 concessions and all that. So we needed to actually put the data together and ascertain where each and every miner is. Now, after we did that, we ensured that those who are mining in certain areas, for example, the Bogoso area, we know the number of miners there, or the small-scale mining licenses there. We're yet to get to know the number of miners within the district, evaluate Ajomoro Jura, Elembele, and all that. So basically, putting the data together has helped us. 2, the small-scale miners themselves said they do not want to go back to where they were they've been for the past 2 years, and so they're going to help the government. So in the last month or so, from around the 15th of December, after the ban was lifted, you'd realize that there's been a lot of arrests, because now we can actually tell which concession is legal and which is not. In the Bogoso area recently, I think up to about 10 excavators have been seized from them. And we've actually done some work around the river bodies, but not in the river bodies. We are actually planning that. Last week, we sent 60 divers to Esuchari, and they finished the training today. So what is happening around Ankobra is going to be replicated.
And the divers you trained at Esuchari, what exactly are they supposed to do?
They would be patrolling the water bodies with canoes and all that. Okay. We've also brought in a boat which arrived last week. A big boat for the military and all that, Navy. They will be also be patrolling, and it's a pilot one that we're going to be doing. Now, we do not expect the water bodies to actually settle or to come to normalcy within a year. In the UK, River Thames took about 26 to 27 years for it to be where it is now. So it starts from somewhere, but now we have the parameters within which we are all working.
But I'm asking if there have been concerted efforts, like specific activities done. And I'm asking this question because whereas in the cases like the Ankobra, we are having positive results. With the River Pra, like we just saw, it's still muddy, and you can see that, you know, sand that had been dug out has been left and all that. So is there any plan for specific activities to help, you know, get some of these water bodies back to the original state?
Illegal mining has been something that Galamsey, it's been with us from time immemorial. So that's why I said having a certain parameter that we are all working within, because most of the illegal miners, now we do not call them illegal miners, they are unregistered miners, because you need to actually arrest the person in the act before you can actually ascertain if the person is an illegal miner. So we call them unregistered miners. Now we have about 6,000 on our database who have been trained in Takwa. They are going to go under the community mining scheme, so there's hope for them. So that has actually, deterred people from actually delving into illegal mining. Hitherto, they just go in and mine anywhere. And the data we have, as I said, when the miners came for the vetting process, which was 3 stages, one, the documentation came forward. We went down to ascertain where the concessions are. The 3rd stage was for them to come to see us, where we can actually zoom in and you can actually tell where your concession is. Now, they do know that we'll be watching them from where we are. Some of them saw their concessions and all that, and they were told that per the law, you don't mind within 60 meters of the buffer zone close to a riverbed. But we told them it should be actually about 100, because if it's and then those who are closer to the water bodies, it is their responsibility. Any river body closer to your concession is your responsibility. So the parameters that we've set is actually helping that.
I'll come to you, ma'am, because you've been working with the communities, and so there's a lot of first-hand information that you can share with us. Let me come back to the issue of clearing the water. Now, we hear from some of these residents, and they say, oh, now we can use our water, we can fish in the water. These river bodies are not only polluted by mud, but they're polluted by chemicals like mercury and the others. It is very easy to judge by the eye when mud you know, is settled. But the chemicals, for these residents, how would they know that this is safe for consumption? Have we ever tested these water bodies to be sure that there's no residue of some of these chemicals used in mining, and so it's safe for residents and other people to use?
That's part of the education that we're doing, because you see, the committee has 10 ministries.
Have you tested the waters yet?
Water Resources Commission does that. That's their job to do that, and they're part of the committee, the interministerial.
Have they done that?
They did that previously. They checked the stability levels and all that, but I'm not sure if they actually checked the chemicals. I do know that Professor Frimpong has every river, a bottle of each river in the country, a specimen there, I mean, for them to test and all that, but we haven't actually had results to that. Now, the river bodies, those who are mining close to it and those who live there, the whole thing is to do it with education, because previously our brothers and sisters who were actually indulging in illegal mining did not even know the health hazards that pertains to illegal mining illegally. That is why most of them have gone to Takwa School of Mines, and they know their responsibilities now. And so going forward, I believe that education, the community engagements that we've done out of the, we've visited about 75 mining districts, administrative in the country, and educated people on that. And they knowing that community mining is actually in the offing has actually calmed nerves, so people are not actually indulging in it as
I'll come back to you for more, Mr. Bisu. Let me come now to Hannah Owusu-Kranting, Madam Hannah Owusu-Kranting. She's with Wasa Association of Communities Affected by Mining, WACAM. Now, you work firsthand with these communities, some of them whose residents we've heard from. Can you tell us how they've been doing since the ban?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be on this program. Well, I would say that if you move into the community, it's made up of people who are there to engage in some sort of mining. Then we have the indigents who have an interest in the community. And then we have some workers who also reside in the community. Definitely, if you ask the indigents whether they are happy with what is going on, they will tell you no. And I don't think they will be happy with the lifting of the ban today, because what they stated, the placing of the ban, if the issues have been addressed, then you can say that yes, we are free to lift the ban. But all the parameters that they stated the placement of the ban are still there in the communities.
Would you mind sharing some of those parameters?
For instance, you were talking about water, so I'll come to the water. In 2009, we did an assessment of water bodies in the then Wasa West district, including Bogoso, Prestia, and also the Takwa municipality. And all the water bodies that we analyzed were polluted not only with mud, but with heavy metals, including cadmium, manganese, iron, and very toxic arsenic, and things like that. And so today, if we're saying that communities should be happy, then there's a problem over there. That thing has to do with the very threat of illegal, small-scale, large-scale mining on the livelihoods of people living in the communities. You see, if you're engaging in a land-based economic activity, such as surface mining, and then one activity supersedes the other in terms of a prioritization, where government is throwing its weight behind mining to the detriment of agriculture and other land users, then there is a conflict over there. And so there have been a major conflict of communities, and it's still persistent. Now, even as we speak, if you go beyond the western region to other parts of the country, where we've discovered oil on the land. And if you talk about mining, it's inclusive of oil, both the liquid and then the gas. There's also those threats about land use, and it's spreading. Now, if we want to assess the expand of lands which may fall under some of these concessions, then we'll be left with about 30% of the surface for all of us in Ghana to live on. And government, I don't know what government's priorities are when it comes to choices of economic activities. For instance, until recently, people thought the Wasa West, that now Takwa municipality was not earmarked for cocoa production. As we speak today, it's the fourth largest producer of cocoa in the country. And this is an area where you have a lot of conflicts with other land users, including surface mining, both the large scale and then the small scale, the legal, whatever he terms it. And so what is our priority as a state? We are not thinking about that.
Let me come in shortly. Are you in any way suggesting that government's decision to fight illegal mining has not been, for lack of a better expression, done appropriately in terms of priorities?
Yes. Yes, because if you talk about illegal mining, it's not just about small scale. It's about all forms of mining. If you are not going to by the letter of your agreement, then you are involved in illegal activity. So if large-scale companies are polluting waters and then small-scale miners are polluting water bodies, you can't just scale the problem down to small-scale companies that were not fulfilling their obligations. What happened to the large-scale companies that polluted water bodies in the area? For instance, you talked about Ankobra. Ankobra was polluted long before the ban was placed on surface mining. If you go to places like Bonsa, mining companies were just dumping raw waste into Bonsa.
And you mean large-scale mining companies?
Yes, I mean large-scale mining companies, which we tracked and then documented. So it's not something that somebody told me. I walked along those banks and saw some of these things. If you go to Anguna Bay, those areas, you see that the tailings facilities, the environmental control units of large-scale mining companies lead into the environment and washes into water bodies in the area. We've counted a number of cyanide spillages in the country that were perpetrated by large-scale companies. What happened to all those reports that were churned out? And so it's, for me, at times, and justifiable so, when small-scale miners think that government just wanted to destroy their economic activity. So we need to have a holistic approach to this problem. And we did something when the ban was placed in 2017 with all stakeholders, including the small-scale miners and government agencies, where we aligned and then looked at the program of government and where we thought there were shortfalls and provided some concrete directions as to how to enrich the discussion. I don't know what happened to that.
All right, I'll come back to you for a reaction, Mr. Bisu. But my colleague Seth Kwame Boateng, who visited some of these communities and produced a documentary, The Mercury Effect, joins us via Skype. Hello, Seth. Hello.
Hello, Bennett. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to have you, Seth. And it's been an interesting discussion here. I'm having WACAM respond to government's fight against illegal mining and all the effects thereof. But you have visited these communities where there's been a lot of poisoning from heavy metals used by miners. Now, tell us more, or tell us what more we are likely to see as we look forward to that documentary at 8:30 p.m. tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, Bennett. So it's a serious issue, especially in the central and western regions where I visited. I started from the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, the dialysis unit, where I found out that quite a number of patients who were visiting that facility were coming from the mining areas, and they always come in with end-stage kidney disease, that is, they've lost 2 of their kidneys through mercury poisoning. And they are supposed to be on dialysis 3 sessions a week, and it was costing them approximately 200 cedis per session. So imagine how many of them could afford 3 times in a week. That is 600 cedis. So they will come for treatment today. The next session they cannot make it because they are poor, and most of them, as I said, were coming from the mining areas. So I followed up to where these things were taking place. I went to Takwa. I went to Bordia Dumping. Dumping, for example, I was told in the last few years about 40 young men have died, and they thought they had been cursed. They didn't know it was the effect of the mercury, and they didn't know the harmful effects of it. So when they mixed the mercury with gold, they put in their mouth in an attempt to get the mercury out of it. So they put in their mouth and sip to get the mercury out of it, and that is dangerous. Even if you touch mercury, it's dangerous. How much more putting in your mouth trying to get that off the gold. So most of them had serious effects, and quite a number of people I met there were constantly coughing, and they thought it was TB, tuberculosis. Apparently that is not the case. It's mercury poisoning. So I followed up to the Waseko hospital, where most of them seek treatment when they are not well, and I was told that yes, they get more cases of mercury poisoning. But the serious aspect of it is that you are in Accra in the studios. You think you are not, you should not bother, be concerned about what is happening. I'm telling you, it's affecting all of us because you consume fish from Ankobra. In this documentary, I talk about Ankobra, and I remember one of the media briefings the Minister of Environment held. He mentioned they needed approximately 400 million or something to get the mercury off the Ankobra River. And I went there as well. So you consume fish from that area, you consume food from that area. You might think you are not affected. You are all at risk because when the mercury gets into the fish, we eat the fish, it deposits in us. So the first year you not feel the impact, the second year you not feel the impact. The third year you start getting sick and you might think, oh, what's wrong with me? It's because of what you ate from that area. So we must all be concerned. And I also got to know that most of the cleft cases or babies who are born with deformity that they are recording at the Confirmatory Teaching Hospital, they were getting most of the cases from these mining areas because of the mercury effect. And a research by one researcher in that hospital has established. So that is also in this documentary. Overall, the dangers involved is what I'm concerned about. Yes, I followed up to the training that they were given at the university in Takwa. I met quite a number of them who were apologetic, who told me that they regretted ever using mercury because they didn't know the effect of that until they were asked to come to the classroom and learn how it was used. So it's a serious issue that we must pay attention to. So I'm looking forward to Ghanaians watching this documentary at 8:30 p.m. So that we all start the discussion, the conversation, and see how best we can all contribute and help save our lives because it's a ticking bomb waiting to explode.
Seth, I'll have you hold on. Let me come back into the studio and pick a reaction from the Secretary on the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, Mr. Bisu. I saw you nodding as Seth was telling us, giving us some details of his documentary. Before you come to talk about what he said, Madam Cranting here has shared a lot with us. She believes that your priorities are wrong and had a meeting with you and gave some suggestions. Well, she tells us here she doesn't know what happened to those. So can you react to that first?
Okay. First of all, I disagree with Madam. I share the sentiments that is happening in the communities. You see, if you have a president who, I remember in 2012, were driving past Ankobra, then the president was then the flag bearer, and he said something must be done about it. And then in 2016, again he said it. So he put a research team together, and that traveled into the party's manifesto, that we are going to restructure the artisanal and small-scale mining sector. Then it means there's a priority. That was an agreement between the MPP government and Ghanaians. And then in March, the president comes in, form an interministerial committee, and say, let's place a ban on it and ensure that we do something. And then he comes in to say that I am putting my presidency on the line, okay, for the environment to be saved. Within that, I believe that's a big statement. And then following that, yes, I mean, Madam said we've set our priorities, right? I don't think so, because we have planting for food and jobs. There's alternative livelihood. That is why we have the Ministry of Local Government within the committee. Haji Halima has done pilots in about 15 districts. People are being trained in Abokobi and all that. And I don't know if Madam has read the roadmap. Most of the things that she's saying are in there that we have to carry out. But I am saying that from what Seth was saying was that the education, because most of the people hitherto thought that the land belonged to their forefathers and that they can just get up and then go and dig gold. And then there were laws, PNDC Law 218, and then the Minerals and Mining Act, and then the laws are telling you that you shouldn't go and mine because the minerals beneath the surface of the earth belongs to the state. And then they carry on doing it. And then we have to change our psychology from the abnormal behavior to the normal one. Because hitherto people did not even know that, I mean, washing the tailings into the river bodies was hazardous to their health.
Okay, let me come in now because of an issue she raised with regards to large-scale miners. Is it enough to say that, okay, the water, for example, is not muddy because you don't have these artisanal miners washing the sand directly into it, but you have large-scale miners pumping their waste into it, still polluting the environment?
That I agree with 100%. That's why the name of the committee is Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. So if you go for a large-scale license and you're using small-scale mining methods, ab initio, that's illegal.
But have those issues come to the attention of the committee?
And we've even gone further to make some arrests. Apamprama Forest, I think Erastus did some interview.
Heritage?
Heritage Imperial. The company used to be called a Unique Star, and then later on changed to Heritage. And then they went in there with prospecting license. I did not.
That's in a forest reserve.
Yes.
You're talking about illegal mining, large-scale companies dumping waste into our water.
Yeah, I'll get to that. And we're talking about illegality.
Sure.
Because they were performing the illegality as well. Because if you do not have an environmental EPA license and you go and mine, the lands minister can give you the license, forestry can give you the permit. But if the environment minister says no, you cannot go and mine, because they have to do the environmental impact assessment before you can go and mine. So we have a lot of them. I cannot mention all the names here, but there's a lot that's going to happen within the next 2 weeks. Because after the ban was lifted, the president called the team and said, there are few people who have gone out there who have actually gone for large-scale licenses and that doing a lot of illegal mining. And two, some of them go for prospecting licenses within which you're not even supposed to mine. And some of them have, do not even pay post a bond, because with the large scale that we're talking about, some of them are regulated by the Chamber of Mines, the Anglo Gold, Adamos and all that. But we have a certain group who some people call the medium scale or that sort of thing, but that's not in law, who are actually performing illegality. We're coming after them as well.
But you're aware of you're aware of their actions?
Yeah, they're all here.
You have their names?
Yes.
You know these large companies?
We do. I have a list from the Minister of Environment of all the companies that have not posted their bond, do not have EPA license. Some even have it, but they're using small-scale mining
including
methods.
Those who are dumping refuse into waste into the river.
Exactly.
Okay, and we are not scared of their big names. We are going after them.
That's why we went to Apamprama last a few weeks ago.
Okay. Now, let me, because you seem to have, Madam Hannah Usukranting doesn't appear convinced at all. She has this smile on her face that says, really, really. Let me pick your reaction.
I think she's happy about that.
Well, just some clarity, then we'll move on.
Okay.
He was talking about once people think land belongs to their forefathers, they have a right to mine. I'm saying that those are not the culprits. The real people mining are people with big names and not those small flies over there. Okay. But then if you have the right state, the state, to the gold underneath the rock, it doesn't give you automatic right of entry to people's lands. The lands are still owned by community people. So you see, there are a lot of even illegalities within the regulatory sector, where people think that, yes, because I'm state, I'm government regulatory agency, I can grant a right to somebody to go into somebody's land without the due processes of the law. If you look at the Minerals and Mining Act, before you can really mine, it's not just about acquiring your concession. You have to go through the due diligence of engaging communities. Now we have expanded the scope to the extent that community people would have the right to say no to mining if they think the adverse effects would outweigh the benefits to them.
Despite the permits given by government?
Despite whatever. That's the free, prior and informed consent. And you do that before exploration. And then beyond that, you have to engage communities, negotiate compensations, do all kinds of things within the framework of the law, which many companies, as of now, I do not know of one company that had abide by the rules of the game. They bully communities into mining. And so all these are just checks and balances for companies to respect. Then you talked about the postage of bonds. Now we've moved beyond that to the polluter pays principle. So you can't say that I've posted some money somewhere, so I have the right to pollute your environment. You need to clean your mess. And that's why I am more interested in what is happening to the sanity of the environment, the environmental quality analysis, which has not been done by anybody. And so even as NGOs like WACAM have done some assessment of water quality and the air quality, and then distance from mining to
the buffer zone.
Communities, the buffer zone, which is about 500 meters. You go to Takwa today, the Takwa Gold Fields mine, the blasting intensity alone is collapsing buildings at Brahaba Boom, and some of them are 2 kilometers away. They blast and TV sets are falling down and things like that. So a lot of illegalities are happening within legal concessions. And these are the things that I'm talking about, and not whether government is doing what or what. And I think just to narrow the scope to small-scale mining is not enough.
All right, let me bring in Seth Kwame Boateng again for his final submission, even as he produced that documentary, The Mercury Effect, yet to air, would air at 8:30 p.m. Seth, help us understand if there are any recommendations that come up in your documentary, and briefly add to the conversation, even as we hear from these two here in the studio.
Thank you very much. I'm really scared for the Operation Vanguard team, those who participated in the exercises. I know I went around with some of them, and you know, when they go and arrest the people, they scatter their things, you understand? And when they are done, they wash their hands. I remember in one of our rounds, after the operation, they were washing their hands. So I had to shout that what you are using has mercury in it. So imagine if I wasn't there. They had already used that. So imagine just a few of them I saw. And let's look at the number of soldiers or the team who were sent across the country. How many of them knew the effect of that? How many of them might have washed their hands with these contaminated water bodies, in these contaminated water bodies? What is the effect of that? I'm really concerned about them. And also those who were involved, what they inhaled in those areas. I remember when I went to Takwa, the EPA boss there told me that you are at risk for even coming here. You are not safe. So I wonder, those who are living in these areas. So I wish something could be done, especially for the Operation Vanguard team. Those who didn't know the effect of using that water to wash their hands, and what can be done to help them. I really want government to take a serious look at this one, and also see how best we can join the crusade and educate Ghanaians on this issue, because, as I mentioned, it's a ticking bomb, and it will explode anytime soon. The next 5 to 10 years, I can tell you, would not look good for Ghana because of the many kidney diseases we may record in this country. For now, we may not see the effect. But let's give ourselves a few weeks, a few years, and it will be serious in this country. So that's my recommendation.
Sure. Thank you very much, Seth Kwame Boateng. There, we look forward to watching that particular documentary at 8:30 p.m. But let me find out from you. He raises an issue with the soldiers and the task force that was sent.
Okay.
I know that there were some routines after every team comes back. Do you do medical test examinations on them, anything of the sort?
I believe all that was done before they went, because before we sent the 400 men, July 24, 2017, they were actually trained, they were actually informed about health and safety and all that. Some people might be negligent along the line, but then they were given proper training. They weren't actually novices that we sent there, so I mean, it might be negligent of the part of the person. Talking about mercury and all that, we know that, I mean, the chief of staff, every week, not less than 3 people come to see her for money with issues pertaining to kidney. And all of them come from mining areas. We do know that. We do remember Bruliosa that actually emanated from Amansia Central. So that's what I'm saying. Previous governments have tried to deal with this matter, but this is a government that is actually delving into it deeper, because after the ban was lifted, people thought that the interministerial committee would have actually been dissolved. The president said, no, we must carry on. And like Madam is saying, the large scales, we know what they're doing. And within the year, most of them, the sanitization will be done. That's why we came out with the reforms, to reform the entire mining regime within the country. So there's a lot that is coming up. We've also signed up to the Minamata Convention, Ghana is part of it. The reduction of mercury use in our mine and other hazardous chemicals. So we are aware of all these things, and the president has said that posterity will not actually, forgive him.
But Mr. Bisi, while we look forward to all the plans that you have to roll out, is it okay for us to ask for an environmental quality analysis, at least of our water bodies and the fish that we're eating from there, so Ghanaians are aware as soon as possible?
I do agree.
We know the risk that
yes,
we are at.
I do agree. So from here, I'll go to the Minister of Environment, who's chairman of the committee, and inform him that, because we believe in, consensus building, criticisms and all others have come on. We've taken them on board because we work closely with the Ghana Small Scale Miners Association, who actually helped us in putting the the roadmap together. So these things, it's for all of us. I can sit in Accra and say it doesn't affect me, but an orange plantation or banana plantation can be transported here with mercury.
Very definitely. We don't produce a lot even in this region.
Yeah, so it's not a matter of politicization, because, Madam said the government hasn't set priority, but I do know that we have blocked out areas. We have areas where people can farm and all that. And previously, it wasn't like that. It's within the law that we should have blocked out areas. After that, we do reclamation and all that, but that was not happening. But within the reforms, it is there that we must ensure that we adhere to the letter.
Finally, Madam Cranting, it's just been a lot of back and forth, disagreements, agreements.
I'm happy.
Yeah, you are happy.
The future is bright.
He's saying I'm happy.
Oh, okay. But are you happy?
The future is bright.
I come from the community, so
are you happy?
No, definitely I cannot be happy. You see, people.
What will make you happy?
People go to the community for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then they are cautioned about their health. We live in the community.
I'm from Western Region too, and I live in the mining community.
Well, I'm from Takwa, I'm from Awodria.
Okay.
I live in the community. My parents are there, my surviving parent, all my family members are there. So I'm talking about living with this problem for many, many years to come. And some of the problems that we are creating are legacy problems. I would have been happy if we had had a complete moratorium on mining. And then we had a debate on mining, what to do with mining. You're talking about blocking some areas for agriculture and things like that. You see?
No, for mining.
For mining.
Yeah, within the minerals company have blocked out areas for mining. And after that reclamation exercise is carried out.
I don't know what levels of environmental quality, not just water, but even soil quality, ambient air quality, and all those qualities that you're talking about were done before the lifting of the ban. That's where my concern is. It's good that, yes, government placed some moratorium on mining for a while, partial moratorium. But then I want a whole debate on mining. Is it a priority? That's why I began by saying that the Takwa municipality wasn't a cocoa growing area. I'm an agriculturist. I knew people had earmarked that area for oil palm. Now people are testing cocoa. It's yielding results. So what is the priority? The little that we are getting from cocoa is more than what they are getting from mining. Look at our roads. From now we have good roads up to Takwa, just before you enter Takwa, up to Takoradi, because manganese trucks are plying those roads, bauxite trucks. And what is the cost of the destruction of such infrastructure as to the benefits that we deriving from mining? We haven't done all this analysis. So yes, we say mining because mining is going to give us the ready cash. But at the end of the day, all the problems that we're talking about, if we do a real cost-benefit analysis of the situation, we'll see that we have not benefited from mining. And that, for me, is a concern.
Interesting. She's calling for a debate. Are you up for it?
I am, but I would have thought she would have joined us. I mean, within the 2 years when the ban was there.
No, I've been with you.
Okay.
I've been with you. I've gone to the ministry. I've made submissions, formal submissions to the minister, to the environmental minister, to all the appropriate ministries. I never got a response.
Okay.
Wow. But will she get her response and her debate now?
You see, unless, of course, what is contained within the roadmap, she agrees. So I would want her to read.
No, I've done a critique of that and shared with the ministry. So I've done extensive work on that.
Okay, but so please, which areas where you criticize?
We can talk about that.
We can continue that debate later.
Which one? Just one.
Well, for instance, I think community participation in the whole road
And that's
was weak.
Okay.
Participation was weak.
We'd have
and
to
so
end it
it's
here.
hanging just
I know
like
it's
all the
getting
other
interesting, but we'll have to end it here. And maybe, like Madam Cranting is doing, calling for a debate, we'll continue that later. But thank you so much for joining me. We've been looking at the fight against illegal mining in Ghana as the Pra River now is stacked on brownish sludge. And Ankobra River shows signs of regeneration to its natural ecology. Hannah Wusu-Cranting is Associate Director of WACAM, and Charles Bisu is the Secretary of the Inter-Ministerial Task Force on Illegal Mining. Thanks for your time this morning. And this is News Desk with me, Bernice Abubeidu-Lansa. In business, GRA satisfied with work done by its strategic partner, McKinsey & Co. And NAFCO expresses interest in supplying maize to farmers. Stay tuned in.